Imagine yourself in a world divided by men and women. Life will look a lot different than what we are normally used to. The root of this new society will begin at a very early stage in a child's life when they first begin school. If someone goes through their whole childhood only being surrounded by the same sex as them, this can create many communication issues for their whole generation and generations to come. According to Science Daily, published on September 22, 2011, it states, when students are segregated by sex, they are not given opportunities to work together and to develop the skills needed to interact with each other. I find it interesting in this topic because I believe everyone should be treated as equals. Also, I believe boys and girls shouldn't be segregated in the classroom because one day they will be stepping out to society and interacting and working together, so they need to build communication skills while young. Today, I will be discussing how schools segregated by sex promote sexism, coeducational schools prepare kids for the future, and kids learn better in a coeducational classroom, as well as what would happen if the world was divided by men and women and if people decided to make a change about it. Schools that are segregated by sex promote sexism. Much as racism was encouraged by racial discrimination, sexism is promoted by schools segregated by sex. According to Science Daily, published on September 2, 2011, it states, in 2010, Libin and her graduate students studied preschool classes to look at effects of gender division among the students. After 2 weeks of teaching, she lined children up by gender and asked boys and girls to post work on separate bulletin boards. The students showed an increase in gender stereotyped attitudes towards each other and their choice of toys, and they played less with children of the opposite sex. In a study, they found signs of sexism in students. They also mistakenly believe that one gender is better than the other gender when boys and girls are taught underneath separate roofs. Boys and girls would gain mutual respect for each other and gender equality in a coeducational classroom. According to Jargon Josh, published on June 21, 2017, it states, our society is heavily tilted in favor of the male child. But with the help of co-education, boys will learn to start treating girls at par, and there will be balance in the mindset of people at large and the benefit of the country. Being in the same school will mean that both will receive equal education as the curriculum will be the same. Once boys learn to treat girls with mutual respect and equality, it will help benefit them in future experiences. Now that I've told you about how schools that are segregated by sex promote sexism, I will next discuss how co-educational schools prepare kids for the future. One day, students will live and work side by side with members of the opposite sex. Educating children in single-sex schools reduces their ability to work and coexist effectively with members of the opposite sex. According to Our Kids, David Robertson, headmaster of Shawnaguan Lake School, states, co-ed schools better prepare girls and boys for post-secondary school and employment by providing ongoing opportunities to work together. He adds, they learn to work together productively, which is what they will be expected to do throughout their whole lives. So there is good preparation happening for university and beyond. After school, students can use this skill in the real world where they will coexist with both men and women. Co-ed schools also allow students to communicate better with others in the future. According to Connect Us, published on August 3, 2018, states, some people who were not educated in co-ed schools often find it hard to socialize with the opposite sex since they are not used to interacting and talking to members of the opposite sex. Controversially, students enrolled in mixed classrooms experience being with members of the opposite sex and become familiar with existing with them. Familiarity will teach them about coexistence to prepare them at the same time as they leave school, where they will have to deal with various kinds of individuals. Now that I have discussed how co-educational schools prepare kids for the future, I will finally explain how kids learn better in a co-educational classroom. Boys and girls learn better in the same classroom. When boys and girls are taught in the same classroom, they gain a new perspective from the opposite sex. According to St. Andrews College, it states, collaboration in the classroom helps boys and girls to gain a fresh perspective from each other, intellectually, develop socially, and become more confident in expressing their views in the presence of members of the opposite sex. Research shows that students in coeducational schools are often better prepared to succeed in post-secondary education and to enter the workforce. When kids are taught in the same classroom, it opens their eyes to new ways of viewing certain topics that maybe you might not have thought of before. Coeducational classrooms have shown an increase in academic performance. According to GreatSchools.org, published on March 21st, 2012, states, at least one study found that the higher the percentage of girls in a co-ed classroom, the better the academic performance for all students, both male and female. Professor Anelia Scholars, an economist from the Attenborough School of Economics, found that elementary school co-ed classrooms with a majority of female students showed an increased academic performance for both boys and girls. Co-ed classrooms have many benefits for both boys and girls. Now that I have discussed how kids learn better in a coeducational classroom, I will provide an example of what will happen if you do change. Once again, imagine you are living in a world divided by men and women. If people start to make a change and begin to send their kids to coeducational schools, it will increase their ability to communicate with the opposite sex and allow them to eventually thrive in any environment they may experience in the future. Sending your kids to coeducational schools will benefit them throughout their whole lives. Now that I've given you an example of why boys and girls should be taught in the same classroom, I'll inform you of some possible solutions. A solution to sex-segregated schools will be to allow both genders to learn under the same roof. This will help decrease the amount of sexism that is seen in single-sex schools. You can promote coeducational schools to show others the benefits that will have over single-sex education. Today I've discussed how schools segregated by sex promote sexism, coeducational schools prepare kids for the future, and kids learn better in a coeducational classroom. I have also told you about coeducational schools and how they help increase your ability to communicate with the opposite sex and allow you to thrive in any job in the future. My purpose today was to persuade you why boys and girls should be taught in the same classroom instead of separate. I feel that being taught in a coeducational classroom allows you to thrive more in the future. By attending a coeducational school, you won't have to worry about a world divided by men and women.